Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning into The Scoop. I'm your host, Frank Chaparro, Director of Special Projects at The Block. I'm very excited to have Jeff Garzik joining us on the other side of the mic to talk about Hemi. Maybe for folks who are unfamiliar with the project and your background, maybe give us a high-level overview of what Hemi aims to achieve within Bitcoin and Ethereum's ecosystems and how you found your way to the project.
Sure. I guess the first will be a lot shorter answer than the second. Hello, Frank. Hello, everyone. I'm co-founder of Hemi, which is a layer 2 modular blockchain connecting the worlds of Bitcoin and Ethereum, who we call the king and queen of crypto. We've been working on this project building for a little bit over 2 years. It spun out of my company I co-founded with Matthew Rozak in 2015 called Block, BLOQ. And it is, I argue, one of the most technically capable, technically complex.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
I know it. And so we built a node that includes or merges together both Ethereum and Bitcoin nodes into one big blockchain node that supports extending Bitcoin script, Bitcoin finality to the nth degree. It adds a number of EVM features on top of the current EVM chain set while maintaining full security backward compatibility with the existing blockchain ecosystem. And we're really leaning into the Bitcoin Fi space. We're getting a lot of Bitcoin energy, specifically people interested in from the Bitcoin side of things. There's we've all heard of the Bitcoin maximalist. I'd argue that there's the Bitcoin moderate is a new category. They're holders that they love Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, but they wanted to go farther than just in a cold wallet, actually earning yield on your Bitcoin or collateralizing it into USD and using USD for further yield or spending money. There's a lot of Bitcoin developer extensions we can talk about. But overall, it's extending that Bitcoin power, Bitcoin capability with Ethereum and similar technologies. So we're not just a Bitcoin L2, not just an Ethereum L2. We're both. We're 5 or 10 chess moves down the road.
We've had quite a number of folks join the program to talk about the scaling out of Bitcoin, building DeFi on Bitcoin. I feel like the Bitcoin maximalist is an endangered breed of human.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's not very exciting to just have some tokens in a cold wallet and go on podcasts talking about how great Bitcoin is. And that's period, end of sentence, end of story.
Yeah. What do you think sort of was behind the shift? Was it sort of, the Cambrian explosion of DeFi summer a few years ago that kind of illustrated the power of what a sort of decentralized financial services ecosystem could look like? Or was it something else?
No, I think DeFi, you hit it on the head. DeFi was a way to have your cake and eat it too, meaning hold your Bitcoin and also, collateralize it, leverage it, put it into yield bearing instruments, et cetera. So it adds to the Bitcoin utility. So you can stay in the Bitcoin economic sphere while doing additional things with that Bitcoin. And so it really extended the utility. And for my part, I'm very big on decentralization, privacy, freedom, et cetera. this is something that, unlike earlier Bitcoin-based solutions, which required some centralized or semi-centralized systems, once you hop over a bridge or tunnel with your Bitcoin, you're still on a decentralized network. So you're not surrendering your Bitcoin to the KYC AML gods and giving up some of your privacy in the process. You can remain in the decentralized ecosystem, and I think that's a big point, both on trust as well as self-sovereign agency.
So walk us through, maybe sort of the proof of proof, as you guys put it. Can you explain how it works and the extent to which it enhances or adds additional sort of security? Um,
Sure. So proof of proof is the way that the Hemi blockchain achieves finality. Another way to say blockchain security by using Bitcoin's proof of work network. There are a couple ways to achieve this in the Bitcoin space. At last count, on DeFi Llama and some of the other websites, I think there were 70 Bitcoin L1, L2s, excuse me, like 40 or 50 Ethereum L2s. It's a pretty complex space, and there are a number of different anchoring solutions or connecting solutions that are in play. One of them is merged mining, which we don't use, but just for provide some comparables. Merge mining involves making human agreements, meet space agreements with a collection of miners such that they will secure your chain in addition to Bitcoin, which they're already mining. And that's a valid route, but that does require going out and making a ton of business deals with a bunch of different miners to secure your network. So I analogize that to rolling a boulder uphill. That's or if we're playing a video game, that's setting the difficulty setting to high. So that's an uphill challenge. Merge mining. Another way is anchoring, and proof of proof is one variant of that. We have, as mentioned, Hemi itself is a blockchain. A blockchain has blocks. Each block has a hash. And every number of blocks in our blockchain, we produce what's called a keystone block. And we take that and embed that in a normal Bitcoin transaction, which is then committed to the Bitcoin blockchain. Folks may have heard the terms op return and some of these other types of technical ways to embed data in the Bitcoin main chain. And proof of proof is similar to that. So we embed the keystone blocks from the Hemi chain into normal Bitcoin transactions. Those are mined, and then after 12 Bitcoin blocks, we call that finality, or actually super finality. And that's how we ensure that the Hemi blockchain is fully secure within the Bitcoin blockchain. So that's one of several integrations or interactions Hemi has with the Bitcoin main chain, but that's the core of our security. In contrast with some of the Ethereum L2s, they have a mechanism called fraud proofs, and they have challengers who have a role to challenge these proofs in their ecosystem. And it takes 7 days for those fraud proofs to be realized fully. In contrast, Hemi, again, it just takes 12 Bitcoin blocks, or about 2 hours on average, to resolve those challenges using Bitcoin's proof of work as the base of our security. And then the POP, or proof of proof, is we stack our own proofs on top of the Bitcoin proof of work. So that's where proof of proof comes from, and that's what we use to anchor into Bitcoin security.
What were some of the like lessons or surprising findings maybe from testnet?
Well, I wouldn't say surprising so much as we were certainly popular. We melted both Sepolia testnet as well as Bitcoin testnet from a semblance of activity. A lot of our incentivized testnet users, we're all about testing. One of my favorite quotes from a past life in Linux, working under the inventor of Linux, Linus Torvalds, was that the internet is the greatest test lab in the world. You can test all you want inside a test lab as a developer, coming up with test cases, stress testing, fuzz testing, unit testing, all manner of testing. But you haven't tested your product at all until it hits the internet, until it hits the wild, until it hits the field. And so I would say that our Hemi incentivized testnet absolutely check those boxes in terms of stress testing various networks, both on the Bitcoin testnet side as well as the Sepolia ETH test network for Ethereum L1. And it held up. That was, I'll certainly brag a bit and say that was not surprising at all that it held up.
You can
But yeah, my
loud.
co-founder is probably invisibly tapping me on the shoulder and telling me to brag more. But that was fantastic. We got a lot of interest, a lot of users, and it really, I think, proved the technology from a core blockchain side, from a tunneling perspective, which we call, everyone else calls bridges. We call them tunnels. And the Bitcoin tunnel held up, the ETH tunnel held up, and those were the key proof
Is there
parts.
a reason for that? Is there is like do you conceptualize in what way do you sort of think it's better um, kind of thought of as a tunnel versus a
Well, it's
bridge?
bridges don't necessarily have the best reputation. There have been a lot of bridge hacks, and it's taking a little bit of a step away from that. In particular on our Bitcoin side, it's super secure, over collateralized, mega multi-sig type scenario, and that held up very well to testing. And just a little bit more soft and squishy. I'm a rail fan. I love railroads. I love tunnels. Anytime I come to Manhattan, I'm going to drive through a tunnel or take the Manhattan subway just because. And so it's very, very much aligned with all of that philosophy.
Mm. When, yeah, I'm thinking I have to drive into the city later today. I'm considering whether I take the tunnel or just drive to Secaucus and then take the train, which also will require a tunnel. I guess it's
Yeah, it's a tunnel
so I
either
want to
way. It's
tunnel either way.
your Bitcoin or Ethereum tunnel. You got to pick one.
So, so when you think about like the future of crypto, more scalable, more secure, um, at least if everything sort of goes according to plan on your end, in that future, what sort of use cases do you think will be attracted to or sort of will find their way to Ethereum versus Bitcoin? If it sounds like eventually they'll both be just as secure and just as fast. Will it just be a preference? What sort of what do you see sort of coalescing around which ecosystem? Does that make
It,
sense?
it does. It does. Let me dive into a little bit of a technical explanation on another of Hemi's special sauce as a journey towards answering that question. One of the things we did with Hemi, comparable to other layer two blockchains, I analogize much of our competition to taking an Ethereum EVM and staple gunning it onto a Bitcoin anchoring system, just calling it a day, is we actually embedded a Bitcoin blockchain node inside our Ethereum blockchain node. Okay, so what does that mean? Very specifically and uniquely, unlike other systems, we extended the EVM to be able to talk directly to the Bitcoin main chain. This enables Ethereum style smart contracts, Solidity, Viper style contracts with the capability to talk directly to Bitcoin. So from the EVM, from Solidity, you can read Bitcoin payments on the Bitcoin chain. You can send new Bitcoin transactions directly to the Bitcoin chain. And so it's kind of, maybe an analogy is it's a remote control where you have a lot more power in the developer side to write more expressive, more powerful DeFi style smart contracts. And yet you're still triggering something on the Bitcoin chain itself. So you're not forced to manually tunnel some digital assets and then do something with it, then manually tunnel some digital assets back. You can operate, again, kind of like a remote control from Hemi, and you're triggering things on the Bitcoin main chain. So from a Bitcoin developer perspective, as a Bitcoin developer myself, I look at that as extending Bitcoin script times 100. Bitcoin script is very secure, but it's also very limited. And that's, in my opinion, held back Bitcoin for a decade. And that's some of the incentives, technical turned economic incentives, for why folks moved from Bitcoin to Ethereum, started building on Ethereum. You can build a ton of decentralized financial products which have no off-chain components, which are fully non-custodial, autonomous, self-actualizing, and that requires a number of capabilities that are in the EVM Ethereum ecosystem that don't exist at all in Bitcoin script. And so what Hemi is doing in part by extending the EVM, kind of an EVM++, we're fully backward compatible with all the existing smart contracts, with all the human knowledge that has accreted over a number of years about where the rough edges are, where the security holes are. We maintain that and then extend it with these Bitcoin extensions. And so that adds more expressiveness. And so, getting around to finally answering your question is, I think we're kind of already seeing and already matching my prediction of kind of a 75% Bitcoin energy BTC Fi, BTC plus DeFi kind of use cases, and maybe kind of 25% Ethereum DeFi energy and use cases. So we're seeing a lot more interest from Bitcoin LPs, from Bitcoin asset holders and developers, because it adds power to the Bitcoin ecosystem while still being anchored to Bitcoin and Bitcoin security. So I think doing stuff with your Bitcoin, extending Bitcoin's programmability into a new ecosphere is kind of our number one use case. And that, there are a number of sub use cases that I could talk for the next hour about. But at a high level, that's, I think, where a lot of the energy is coming from.
That makes a lot of sense. How do you think about, what a multi-chain world would look like, looks like, in terms of, a lot of people use the analogy blockchains are like cities. Do you revel in that analogy? Do you appreciate the imagery there?
I'm impatient for the future. And what I mean by that is I often analogize, even with, I argue Hemi is 5 to 10 chess moves ahead of the competition, ahead of the other L2s. But with that said, we're still in the 1970s internet era of blockchain. And what I mean is, in the 1970s, the internet in its early nascent phase was a university manually connecting to another university, manually dialing up to another university, and it was incredibly slow. It was the web didn't exist in the earliest days of the internet because it couldn't. You would have email, which would be delivered here one day, and then to the next hop, then to the next hop. And that's where digital assets are today. I, as a user, have to think about, okay, my Bitcoin is on this Bitcoin blockchain. Now I have to pick it up like a furniture mover and move it over to the Hemi blockchain. And then maybe I'm going to pick it up like a furniture mover and move it over to this blockchain. It's a lot of button clicking, it's a lot of manual labor. And what the evolution of the internet taught us is what we don't yet have, and I predict is coming from both wallets and blockchains, is routing, network routing. Is my vision is always starts and ends with user experience. My blockchain age, that's where I get a lot of my gray hairs. My blockchain age is 14. I've been in the industry for 14 short or long years. 5 crypto market cycles at this point, and a lot of rough edges remain from a user perspective. And the next chapter in blockchain, we're having this Cambrian explosion of layer twos, and that's natural. That's I make a lot of evolutionary biology analogies, and that's very Darwinian. Is both Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have high network fees, and the natural incentive, just like a champagne waterfall spilling it from one glass to another, is your traffic, your blockchain traffic is incentivized to spill over to another blockchain like Hemi, yet you still want to remain connected to your settlement layer of ETH, your settlement layer of Bitcoin. And it's very prehistoric. The next step is, as a user, I don't have to think about where are my digital assets on what blockchain. I don't have to click a bunch of buttons to get over here and earn some extra rewards or yield, or do some DEX trading or whatever your application is. It's more about, are my assets secure and are they working productively for me in the various applications I'm interested in. And the networks, they kind of recede from view a little bit. So that network routing is the smarts that we're currently lacking. And I argue that the wallet layer, especially as the front end layer, will start to gain a lot more intelligence. I know smart wallet is already a bit of an overloaded term, but that's where the network routing is going to come into play. So my background, again, pre-blockchain, was networking and storage at the lowest levels of the Linux operating system. And to me, it's as clear as day that after that Cambrian explosion of layer 2 blockchains and the inevitable consolidation that follows the explosion, you're going to still have those rough edges for the users that need smoothing out. To me, the user security, user experience, at the end of the day, that's everything. I love talking tech. I love talking about the bells and whistles that we've been building for 2 years and how incredibly secure they are. But they're plumbing. All of this is plumbing, and plumbing should be hidden from the user. The user should just know and trust that it works. And that's the next chapter for our entire industry.
What is how long do you reckon that chapter will take to be written?
Well, we've got to go through the Darwinian trial by fire of the current L2 layer 2 Cambrian explosion. I love open source. I love permissionless networks. I love permissionless innovation. That's it's ultimately free speech. That's how that's freedom in its ultimate expression. But applying a macroeconomic analysis to what I just said, the cost of digital asset creation is zero. The cost of new network creation is essentially zero if you want to just photocopy an optimism fork or something like that. And if the cost is zero in terms of supply and demand, you're going to see a huge amount of supply. And we do. Again, 70 Bitcoin L2s, 50 Ethereum L2s, a ton of other layer one blockchains. And what is the flight path of this in aggregate? Is some are going to win, some are going to lose, just like non-crypto, there's going to be consolidation. And ultimately, just like venture capital, where power law applies. 90% of venture capital investments don't make anything. They lose money. The other 5%, they make back their investment. And that final 5% is where venture capitalists make all their profit and, continue to invest in new projects. And it's even that power law is even more extreme in crypto. If anyone can create a token for free, and they do on pump.fund, there's a new, 10 new meme coins a day. Supply and demand, there's massive amounts of supply into not as much demand. So there's the explosion phase, and then there's the innovation market trial by fire phase, and then ultimately consolidation, dust settles, and who's alive at the end of that cycle. And so once we get to the other side of that curve, that's when you'll start to see networks, assets, kind of like Layer Zero, Stargate wormhole going cross chain. Those are going to be the new water pipes, if you will, for a lot of this network routing that then bubbles up to the user interface layer, the wallet layer. And again, the user experience. Right now, you see, which L2 would you like to be on? All of that's going to go away. It's going to be invisible plumbing. And the user experience will just be, where can I maximize my BTC? Where can I participate in a prediction market? Where can I buy some NFT art? And it's going to be more about going to that ultimate destination, and the plumbing underneath is invisible.
So the sort of plumbing and connectivity will be be abstracted away or sort of fade into the background. How do you, one other thorny element of this industry is, I'm sure, I'm sure it's just as thorny to you as someone who's seen it kind of grow up into adolescence. Is DAOs and sort of the governance of all of these things. It might be even more shaky than the actual technology or UX, because as what's the old joke? They're not very decentralized and they're not very autonomous.
They're O's.
So how do you sort of see governance evolving? Because if I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement.
I totally agree. There's a lot of room for improvement. I think a lot about delegation these days. I do think a lot about DAO governance. We're finding out, as the founders of America already observed 250 years ago, is direct democracy is not the most efficient way to govern. A lot of these systems, proper governance requires that you're informed on the issues, you're aware of new issues as they arise. I'm trying to remember which DAO and which system, but it might have been Compound, but there was a DAO proposal from an outsider to essentially just allocate a bunch of tokens to themselves. And because everyone was asleep, the proposal made it quite far through the decentralized system. There weren't just enough participatory governance and delegates awake and aware to govern the system in a healthy way. And so I am continually looking for how to compensate active delegates to remain active. I think that's a key. Just having active and aware voters is a constant battle. A lot of the so-called DAOs ultimately boil down to a multi-sig, and that's kind of faux governance at its roots. So there's a lot of room for improvement on the delegation side. As an example, I think it was Uniswap. When you received an airdrop, they actually had a user flow that users would go through to choose a delegate while receiving their airdrop. And I thought that was one small tactic. That's not the whole game, but those sorts of nudges, to put it in economist Austin Goolby's language, are the things that we need to evolve to DAO governance 2.0. There's Curve, the DeFi project, is doing some really good work on simply creating contracts that are ungoverned. From an InfoSec terminology perspective, we call it reducing attack surface. And it's just about engineering as much as possible of the system so it's not controlled by any DAO or any one person. It's just fully the decentralized ideal of here are some rules and numbers and go. It's completely locked out from me. It's locked out from you, locked out from everybody. And the Curve model is will rain some incentives on healthy parts of the ecosystem and create economic nudges to use, or more importantly, not use parts of the system which are trusted or untrusted and disfavored. So that's an interesting model, is a mix of ungoverned smart contracts with top level sprinkling and incentives to nudge users in one direction or the other, while still maintaining a hard, non-custodial, founders don't have access to the crypto kind of shapes. And then finally, legal is there's been some action in Wyoming at the state level on DAOs and LLCs. Crypto lawyers, there's no, put 3 crypto lawyers in a room and you'll get 6 opinions on DAOs. So there's a lot of debate. But, some of the Caymans island structures, for example, don't require any beneficial directors whatsoever. And so that's actually more legally aligned with the way DAOs work in practice than it is in some of these US structures that are even allegedly pro DAO. So it's another developing frontier. I love DAOs. I love debating them. They're all imperfect, but there's a lot of tactics and techniques for improvement.
Yeah, I think that's fair and well said. So as you or sort of as you sort of exit the wake of testnet, what sort of launch expectations do you have for mainnet? What are some of the milestones you're targeting, and how can people learn more?
Well, to learn more, go to hemi.xyz. We have plethora of documentation if you're technical at docs.hemi.xyz. Follow us on Twitter, Hemi_XYZ. I guess I should say X. I still, my brain still says tweet and Twitter, and needs to be rewired. But the Hemi mainnet, as we record this in the middle of December, it's coming in the next 60 days. There's the Hemi token will be launched after that, so we're not launching a Hemi token at mainnet. It'll be just ETH for gas. And then pretty soon you'll be able to use Bitcoin for gas as well. And ultimately, the milestones are internally, our business development growth folks are rapidly onboarding dApps. You don't want to launch a chain as a ghost town, kind of like buying a Windows PC with no applications. So We're onboarding the familiar suite of lending markets, DEXs, perps, prediction markets, NFT marketplaces, the standard accoutrements of DeFi, which I love, and onboarding digital assets onto those. So you don't want it to be an economic ghost town as well. You need water in the pipes. And so that's what's kind of going on behind the scenes right now that we'll go live with. And in particular, one of the features we have is called Hemi Bitcoin Kit. It is a way for Bitcoin developers, similar to Apple's WebKit or Apple's Health Kit for developers, a way to build those expansive smart contract enabled Bitcoin applications that I described. And again, as a Bitcoin developer from the old days, I really do believe that this is a massive expansion in capability and expressibility of accessing the Bitcoin chain from the Hemi blockchain. And then from there, we have a number of Hemi-specific applications that we're working on that I'm pretty excited about, but I'll get yelled at by our marketers and lawyers if I mention right now. And then after that, it's launching the Hemi token TGE and upgrading from there with a number of different Bitcoin tunnel features. Our first tunnel is super secure, over collateralized, multi-sig type shape, and we're going to upgrade that to BitVM vaults. So a number of upgrades that'll roll out throughout the year after that. But Hemi mainnet is definitely looming large, and we're super excited to bring it to the crowd. Again, hemi.xyz and hemi_xyz is how you can find us.
Amazing. Well, we appreciate you stopping by and taking the time, and hopefully we'll see you soon and have a nice holiday.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to yourself as well, Frank the Handsome Italian.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. Mm-hmm.